Chase, don't do that.
You see, we working on his brow chakra. We're just in back of the crown chakra.
Chase, don't do that. All right, welcome everybody to Waxing the Porpoise. We are here, episode 21 now, talking about 1983 film, Stephen King adaptation directed by John Carpenter, Christine, about a murderous, rampaging car that's possessed. As just a routine reminder, this podcast, Waxing the Porpoise, we like to talk about films my co-host Steve's never seen before, and then sprinkle in the occasional, unexplained disappearance, funky cold cases that haven't been covered to death. So this episode where we review Christine, I need to come up with a fucking better name than like something as hackneyed as like a Halloween spooktacular or something like that, extravaganza, as it were. But so by the time this releases on September 1st, for the entire month of September and October, we're doing strictly horror films that Steve has never seen before. And first on deck is Christine. So, you got myself, Jim G Baby, as your host, and as always, our co-host, the usual suspect, Steve. How are you, friend?
Yo, doing good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Prot, that's you.
That's so loud.
Was it? Okay. Yeah. I'll fix it in post. Yeah, mess with the level there. Okay. How have you been this past week? What have you been up to? Anything
been
unique?
Doing good, man. Yeah, nothing too crazy going on around here. We had to put our cat on a special kidney-sensitive diet, so that's the big goings on around here in the cat world. She's technically a senior, and at this age, their kidneys start to strain a little bit, so yeah, we want to keep her around till at least she's 30 or 40 years old. So we're putting her on some special food, which she hates so far, but hopefully she'll come around.
But she's good otherwise? This is like preventative, like you're being ultra, as proactive
all
as you
her
can.
levels are still within range, but just proactive because she's getting to be that age.
Right on.
Yeah. How about you?
Well,
anything new going on with you?
Not terribly new. Pretty ho-hum. Although, as we were touching on before the recording, I actually appeared as a guest on another podcast, who also tuned into our show as well, friends of the cast, Ghoulish University. Check them out. They're pretty new. I think they're on their 7th or 8th episode by now. They just got started. They do a bi-weekly review of every Tales from the Crypt episode.
What's the name of the show? One
TV
more time.
Series. Ghoulish University.
Okay.
You can find them anywhere. Yeah, they're on every podcatcher, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They do Tales from the Crypt like in order, so a lot of them I think there's 3 hosts, and 2 of them have only seen a couple, and then the other host has seen them all. So they're watching one in order. I think there's like 6 or 7 seasons, but I was on for season 2, episode 3, Cutting Cards with Lance Henriksen, which not one of my favorites, but it's a good one. It's a fun one. I think you'd like it too because of the it's two uh, gambling dudes that are like rivals that come head
I
to
was gonna
head.
say cutting cards. That has a different meaning to me than it does for most people, probably.
Yeah. What does that mean? I mean, I'm think of it just like you cut the deck. Is there a
Yeah.
significance to that term,
Well,
cutting cards? Actually,
there is a form of advantage play called cutting where, let's say, well, without getting too into the weeds, when you're presented with the deck to cut, the more accurate you can be, you can either steer a card towards you or towards the dealer. So, like, let's say you're playing a single deck blackjack game and you happen to see that the bottom card is like a 6 or whatever. Whatever the card is. If you know, like, okay, if I cut 16 cards exactly, that card will end up in this one particular place, whether it's my card, whether it's the dealer's down card, whether it's, and you can do it with other games, not just blackjack. Like if you're playing Ultimate Texas Hold'em or something, you can cut cards to or from yourself. So that's what it just makes me think of. Or if you, on a simpler level, if it's a shitty card like a 6 or something, you can just cut that out of play and then adjust your count. So now you just have one better card for your count. So that's what I think of when people talk about cutting cards. I can't remember if we talked about the Phil Ivey lawsuit scandal where he won tens of millions of dollars from these casinos and then it ended up getting sued and he lost because they pretty much said he was cheating even though he wasn't. It was really interesting because, and
no, I don't think you did.
I hate to repeat myself if we did, but what he was doing was called edge sorting. So if you were to look at the back of a deck of cards and it has like a diamond pattern, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
if you can identify irregularities in the way those cards are cut and you're able to distinguish, okay, these are high cards, these are low cards, and through, let's just say, some social engineering of a dealer. So what he was playing was Baccarat, and he had I can't remember what nationality she was, some kind of Asian woman, and Baccarat's super, super popular with Asian people in the
Mm-hmm.
States. So he's a well-known high roller poker player. So
Oh, yeah.
casinos will take his action, and he brought her along as like as additional cover of, oh no, this is just my Asian degenerate gambler friend. And they were able to, without doing anything technically against the law, they were able to sort of like Jedi mind trick these casinos into doing these weird procedural departures based on, oh no, she's just a wacky, superstitious Asian lady. But really what they were doing is setting themselves up to know exactly what cards were coming next.
Huh.
They won tens of millions of dollars.
Holy
And
shit.
yeah, and then it just became like a very protracted legal battle. Some of it happened over in England where the laws are a little bit different. And yeah, anyway, super interesting. If you care at all, you can look it up. He was involved in a lawsuit. I think the Borgata in Atlantic City, and then Crockfords or Schicklefrocker, whatever British fucking I don't know.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, anyway, sorry to completely derail it. So back to your Are You Afraid of the Dark podcast.
Yeah. Tales from the Crypt.
Are you Afraid of the Dark next if they ever run out of episodes?
No, yeah. I mean, you could go a lot of places with that. There's quite a few like horror anthology shows that have like, I know, like Twilight Zone. A lot of people don't know was like reincarnated like 3 times before the most recent one where Jordan Peele, I think, rebooted it in like
That's
in
right.
2020, 2021. I watched all of them that he put out. I think maybe 2/3 of them. I gave them a real shot, and I just couldn't get behind it. Like there was only maybe 2 or 3 episodes I saw out of like, I don't know, 12 or 13 that were good. And
Are
I
they
was
too? Is it like too up its own ass?
No,
Because I
and
like some of
because
the original ones a lot. Some of the original, I don't know if they were the 50s with Rod
Rod
Serling.
Serling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some of
I
those
think
were really
that's
cool.
yeah, like I think it's like late 50s, maybe early 60s into there. But yeah, I agree. I've seen a couple of the really old ones and they're good. And I don't know. I'm a big Jordan Peele fan too. So like the stuff that he non comedic shit that he's done, and I don't know how much he was involved in it. I think he wasn't like directly involved with every episode. He just
Hmm.
helped produce it and get it rebooted. But so I don't put that all on him at all. But yeah, just I don't think they were so much too much up their own ass. They just the stories fell flat.
Mm.
Like they were just boring and generic, and I was expecting not like a fucking M Night Shyamalan twist that you need.
Hmm.
You know that I feel like everyone is like seeking or subvert my expectations. I'm so
Hmm.
sick of that fucking term. That could be a good colloquial corner. I'm sick of hearing that.
I
It's
don't
like,
think
yeah,
I've heard that.
we get it. Really?
Yeah.
I feel like I hear it all the time,
Subvert my expectations. That's
and
funny.
I always attach it to Game of Thrones because when that was like at its peak, like, oh, they kill everyone you love, no one's safe, you know, like, it's
Mm.
edgy, it's subverting my expectations, like,
I don't
God,
think
I
I've
feel.
ever cared about anything less than the new prequel to Game of Thrones.
I was gonna ask it. Did you watch it? I
No.
haven't
And
seen it yet, so don't spoil it.
I have no real interest at all. I liked the show a lot. I know a lot of people hated the ending. I just didn't like the last pretty much whole season. The pace was so off in my opinion. I felt like they were like, "All right, we got to shift into fifth gear and try to just wrap this up as fast as possible." And it just
Yeah,
felt rushed and
yeah.
I felt attacked by the last season. So I took it personally.
Really? Because
Nah,
I
I
mean,
just was like, Meh, I just didn't like it. So I'm not really super looking forward to jumping back into that world. I keep hearing how good Better Call Saul is, and I'm starting to hear people say they think it's better than
then
Breaking
Breaking
Bad
Bad.
or pretty close. So I
Yeah,
haven't watched any of them, so I might have to jump on that sometime soon because I think they just had their series finale. Is that right?
something like that. I've tried to stay away from it because it's one I've never seen either, but I can see myself in the future getting into. So
Because you liked
I,
Breaking Bad, I assume, right?
I never finished it, but I liked
Oh,
what I saw up
it's
until
so
that
fucking
point.
good.
I know, I know.
I know.
My wife gives me shit all the time. She's just like, finish it. I got to a point where it was like affecting me too much. I don't know.
Mm.
I can't. It's hard to describe. Like I was just like,
We we
I want to
almost
relax right now and not stress out about
yeah.
these people's lives anymore. Like it was getting me too like I was getting too into it. Not
Hmm.
like reality's blurred. It was just like I want something to make me not feel this way anymore.
Yeah. It can be very emotionally draining. I remember we almost me and the missus, she almost just gave up. And I remember
Hmm.
exactly it was the episode where there was the tweaker parents who had the kids in this like fucking pigsty and Jesse ends up like killing one of them with an ATM machine. Do you remember that one?
Yes, dude,
And
that's
that
really
was
weird you
like
say that because that's where I quit. That's where I gave up the ATM episode. That's the
that one
last
was
thing I can remember.
brutal. And of
Yeah, I
course it
was
was
like,
like we had been watching maybe the episode before and it ended. And the thing that show is so good at is ending on a note that's like, okay, let's watch one more. So then we watched that one and he like kills the
yeah,
parents, I think, and the kids are just in squalor, and then it's like, well, night. You know, it's such like a
yeah,
shitty note to go to
yeah,
bed on.
yeah,
But
totally.
luckily we got back into it and it it
Eh,
didn't just like live in the darkness as much. But yeah, that was like, god damn.
yeah, yeah. That was the point where I was like, this is getting too much. I need something lighter, and I just never came back to it. So, but I was a late bloomer with Game of Thrones too. I think maybe that's why I had a different experience, and I'm okay with what they did with season 8. Yeah, it wasn't ideal, but I think there was enough, and they're like, I'm a sucker for like um, fan service and shit like that. Like the last season, I thought they did a really good way. Like they wrapped up fucking Theon's storyline. I really liked that. Couple other storylines I can't remember, and
I
like
mean,
the
you're allowed to
Hound.
be wrong, but
Yeah, that's fine. I'll wear that. I mean, I didn't read any of the
famous
books or anything like that, so
Oh no, I didn't either. It was just so funny because I remember when it was really popular, sort of in the middle, you were like, "This show's fucking stupid." And I swear to God, this might be a false memory, but I feel like I remember having the conversation with you. Like, I swear, in a year or two, you're gonna come to us, like me and the other coworkers, and be like, "Dude, Game of Thrones is fucking dope." And then,
yeah.
like a year or two later, you're like, "Dude, that's a good show." And I'm like, "This is a crazy world. This is
Yeah.
exactly what we thought was gonna happen, and all is now right with the world."
It's just been revoked.
Yeah. I remember specifically too, because so it was like, yeah, I bagged on it because it was so popular. I was like, nah, and fucking swords,
Fucking
Lord of the
dragons,
Rings,
cool.
dragon, horse shit, no thanks. And yeah, and then I remember saying all that, and then I think I got into it around like season 5, season 6. I started from the beginning. And I had forgotten that you guys liked it and gave me shit about not, and like of me being like, oh yeah, whatever. I completely blanked that out. I legitimately thought you had never seen it before.
Oh, that's
and I
it's
came up and
even
was
better.
like, yeah, I was like, dude, I was like, Steve, have you ever seen Game of Thrones? I was like, pretty dope. Yeah. And you're like, are you mental? We literally had this conversation like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was, where I told you about it, and I foretold that you're going to come back one day and say, hey, have you guys ever seen Blood? It's actually not bad. And like, yeah, it totally happened that way.
Oh, we call that in our house a wedge salad moment because there's I don't know if you ever watched Modern Family, but there's this funny episode where I can't remember all the details, but Claire, like, there's a wife who's mad at her husband and he can't figure out why, and all it comes down to is she's been telling him for years to try a wedge salad. He's like, oh yeah, no, that's okay, that doesn't really sound good. So then he goes out to lunch with like a work colleague or something and comes home and is like, Claire, you need to do yourself a favor and try a delightful wedge salad. And she just has a total meltdown, like, I've been telling you to eat a wedge salad for years.
Yeah, totally. We actually, or Kelsey's watched most of it, I think, but I just recently started watching episodes like here and there out of sequence, and it's pretty fucking funny. It was one in the back of my mind. I was like, I'm not gonna. That's fine, but I'm not gonna watch that.
It's a funny show. I don't know if it's unique to new shows, but it seems like these network shows, when they do well, it's like, we are not going to stop this show until we bleed it fucking dry and all of the actors are over it. It's not like I'm not a huge Seinfeld fan, believe it or not, but I feel like that one went out before people got sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
But like a Modern Family or even like a Big Bang, which we'll occasionally put on in the background, it's like, oh, we have a cash cow and we are just going to milk it until everybody hates it and then just move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I'm glad I kind of gave up on Big Bang when I did, because then, I heard later, like, as it dragged on, people started hating on it. And I was like, when I left the show, it was like, I was like, people liked it. It was okay, and now people are like, ugh, that kind of humor. Like, ugh. I'm like, go fuck yourself, dude. You can't sit with me on an episode that I choose, a Big Bang, maybe smoke a little reefer, and be like, and you're not gonna laugh your fucking balls off. I bet you will.
Yeah.
So it's like, get over yourself. You can like cheeseball shit every once in a while, but Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
okay
stick
to
around
have
for that.
it's okay to have mindless entertainment. It's definitely good background while you're cooking dinner TV.
Yeah, yeah, totally. It's like low stakes. You don't got to commit, and every episode I've seen, there's at least like 4 or 5 quick quips that I chuckle pretty good at. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah. So check out that episode. I don't know when they're gonna release it, the one that I was on, but I had a hell of a fucking time. It was kind of like that scene I was thinking of is Old School when Will Ferrell's like, "I had a great time," and what's his face turns and he's like, "Yeah, Frank, we know you had a great time." Like, I think I had a little bit too much fun, but anywho's, so we're going into Christine. So from 1983, John Carpenter. How familiar were? I remember you said you read the book, so that's pretty familiar.
Yeah.
But
So I read the book. It's been a number of years, probably like eight, 8 to 10 years since I've read it. And going into the movie, I kind of had the same thought I had going into the book, which was this sounds really fucking stupid to make an entire story around a haunted car. I really
yeah,
like the book, and I really like the movie too. It's not going to win any awards for anything crazy, but it's just a fun
right.
movie. It like I remember so little of the book, I can't even speak to, oh, this was cooler in the book or this was cooler in the movie. Um, I just remember liking both, kind of for the same reason, where it's just fun.
Yeah, sweet. So you liked it again? He shoots, he scores. Um,
Can you guess who my favorite character is and why? Or I guess I should say my
I,
favorite actor in this.
I, yes, actually, fucking Old Man River, South Bend Shovel Slayer,
Yep.
back in '58.
Yep. I was like, God damn, how does this guy, this is made
He looks
6 or
older.
7 years before Home Alone, but he looks 50 years older.
Yeah, he looks so much older. I think it's that fucking like,
His
uh,
girdle,
yeah, that
little
back
back
brace
brace.
looks like the fucking thing from the dude's wearing in Dead Space. Yeah, it's like a secondary spine, like a back, like, yeah, that makes him look
Maybe
older and more decrepit and slightly more menacing.
saucy little old man corset.
Yeah, I was like, is that who I think it is? Because
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
thought the
remember
same
for that
thing.
from the first watch. And I was like, oh shit. And yeah, I looked him up. Even weirder, that dude's name, Roberts Blossom.
Yeah, when I looked him up too, I was like, Roberts Blossom. I don't know which one of those is weirder.
It was funny. One of my favorite lines, maybe not favorite, but a really funny line was when they meet him to buy Christine.
Hmm.
And what I took the note down here. What's he say? He's like, yeah. He's like, you should have seen it back in '58, fresh off the lot, new car smell. Uh, that's just about the finest smell in the whole world, except maybe for pussy. Like,
Yeah,
it was weird to see his like. He's like the hero, like the old, nice, old, wholesome man from Home Alone, and seeing him in this crusty old fucker.
it's funny. Stephen King has done like I've read not a ton of his stuff because I feel like by the time you read one of his books, he's written four more.
Yeah.
But I've read a decent amount of his books, and he has this. I don't know if trope is the right word, but he has this story function where it sometimes comes across as being really spoon feedy when he's trying
Mm-hmm.
to uh, make you aware of something. And it reminded me in this one when that guy's talking about like shitters or whatever, and then the kid
Yeah.
starts saying it. It's like, okay, that's a very unique like insult that nobody ever says, and it's
Right.
very clearly trying to just shove right in your face, like, this is what's happening. The kid is becoming like the other old man.
Yeah.
And then later when the kid says something like that too, like, oh yeah, it's the best smell ever since pussy. Like, yes, okay,
Yeah.
we get it. The transition is happening.
Yeah. He's starting to mimic. Yeah.
You don't need to talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. I get what's happening, but yeah, he's done that in a couple of his books too, with like really weirdly unique lines of dialogue or insults where it's like, okay, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, I that's funny you picked up on that too, because I was gonna mention, but I wasn't gonna present it in that way. But yeah, I agree, and I will say to his credit though, I feel like that's like slang between Arnie, our main character, and Dennis. I feel like they say like "give those shitters hell," or he says something like that when he's in nerd mode still, like at the beginning of the movie. So I'll maybe give that one a pass, but I can't think of an example of another Stephen King, but he does use these like little fucking like Mickey Mouse, like his own slang, like a word or a phrase that he had. I wish I could think of one. I feel like there's got to be one in It. This is probably the most recent one that I read of his.
There is probably one in more of his books than there are not. Whether it's like a made up word or like a,
and I don't think Dark Tower you can include. I would say separate a Dark Tower because they have like their own language and all that shit in there. But yeah, I feel like even in like little like smaller films like Needful Things. I don't know if you've ever read that one.
I read
feel like
that
one. Has its own kind of vernacular too.
I loved that book a lot. One of the worst fucking endings of anything, whether it's book, film, TV, song, anything. It is the dumbest ending. It's been a really long time since I read it, but there's this evil person who runs the antique shop or whatever consignment store.
Isn't he supposed to be like the devil or Randall Flagg or the Man in Black or
yeah, it's that sort of amorphous evil figure person. And I do like there's a lot of overlap in his stories with characters or whatever. And that book was really cool because there were so many storylines happening at the same time that were all intertwined, and it was really creatively done and interesting and unique. And then it gets to the end, and I swear to God, I'm not exaggerating, I don't think. The way the good guy is able to defeat the bad guy is he reaches in his pocket and pulls out a rainbow, and it like melts the bad guy. Like, where the fuck did this pocket rainbow come from? This doesn't make any sense.
Oh man, yeah, that sounds god awful.
Yeah, I should go revisit the ending just to see, like, maybe I missed something in my retarded teenage stupor. But I remember closing the book just like so dejected and pissed. Like,
you threw it across the room. Yeah. Oh, side question: Did you ever watch the Dark Tower movie that they made with Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba?
No, I didn't. I just figured it was going to be dog shit.
Yeah,
and I guess
I only watched like 4. Yeah, it was not well received.
Is the movie supposed to cover the whole series, or just was it going to be like a?
I don't know, because when I heard first that they were shopping it to like HBO to make it a fucking drawn out series, which is what they should have fucking done, and probably would have been amazing. It could have been amazing. And then they scrunched it down to a movie, and I read that there was no guarantee of like sequel or trilogy, so they had to like come up with enough breadcrumbs to maybe go on, but they also had to kind of tie it up and change things for this movie to try to make
it's the worst of both.
Yeah, exactly. They were trying to cater to, the people that were loyal to it and know the story and everything and want to see it go on, but then also try to grab in the people off the street that want to watch a good Stephen King adaptation or just a good, action movie. And yeah, they failed miserably on both ends. It did poorly. I think I only saw like the first 40 minutes and I was just like, no. I was like, this is
that's a bummer. because
Yeah,
it
it
is
sucks
a really
because
good. It's a really good series. I liked it a lot.
yeah, and I honestly think like with HBO money and it getting like a series treatment, like hour-long episodes, 10 episodes a season, maybe wrap it up in like 5 or 6 seasons, maybe 4, who knows. I
Yeah.
think it could be done really well. And it sucks because I feel like Matthew McConaughey is like almost a perfect Man in Black for that series. I feel like he could do it really well. And
Or wasn't he
although
play? Oh wait. Oh, so he was playing the Man in Black, and Idris was playing the gunslinger.
Roland, yeah, which I'm totally fine with. I like Idris Elba a lot. I wonder if there's not someone else who could have done a better job.
Maybe
So
Clint
it's
in his
definitely not like
prime.
a. I know there's a lot of people that got fixated on race. I think Idris Elba's he's like one of my favorite actors. Firstly, and I thought it was kind of I think he could fit that mold for sure. I could see him as a Roland, but I think everybody at the end of the day bitches and moans because if they should have made it earlier and they could have done it with Clint Eastwood. He was like the thing that even Stephen King I think said he had in his mind's eye. So
Yeah, I could see that too. I mean, he's just that archetype, and I can't really think of anybody in modern times who even has like a similarly kind of grisly demeanor.
yeah. I think I don't know if you've seen that Reacher TV show on Amazon Prime. Not the movies with Tom Cruise. They just came out this year with a um, like a hour long miniseries of
No,
Reacher, and
I haven't.
this other dude who plays Reacher, and he looks like he's like 6'4", built like a brick fucking shit house.
Oh, yeah,
To me,
I
I was like,
heard.
I could see him if he like thinned down, if like starved him for like a year, he could be a good Roland.
I heard him on a podcast not too long ago, and he seemed like a really fucking cool dude.
Yeah,
I
super
can't
down to
remember where I
earth.
heard. And then I looked up a picture of him. I was like, Jesus, this guy is a brick shithouse.
Yeah, he's a fucking unit, dude.
What's the guy who plays Bane? What's his name?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. Yeah, his character in Peaky Blinders, if you have seen it, is so good.
Yeah, that's one I've been meaning. Even my mom's like, you gotta watch Peaky Blinders, dude. I'm
Yeah, we
like,
love
I
watching it
know.
together. It's great.
I've tried to watch a couple, and like with kids running around, dude, it is fucking pretty full throttle and cursing and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah,
If
I gotta
anybody
wait till
hasn't watched
nighttime
Peaky
to watch it.
Blinders and they want to start it, it's a great show. I would love to see a cig counter. Like how many cigarettes are smoked in that show? It's got to be in the 5 figures at least. It's unreal.
6,400,000
Dude, you cannot they
million.
cannot go one scene without somebody or 11 somebody's smoking, and it's not one of those things where you see somebody drinking a beer and you're like, oh, that makes me want to drink a beer. They're smoking so much, it's like, this makes me queasy how
Yeah, I
much
feel sick
how much
right
they're
now.
smoking.
Yeah,
Even as a
yeah,
former smoker, I'm like, God damn, let the last one burn out before you light a new one.
yeah,
But
totally.
yeah, I could
There's
see.
definitely those out there where you watch and you're like, oh man, cigarette sounds great right now. But then, yeah, there's too much going on. Or like when there's a scene where they're smoking in a car and you can see it billowing in the
I
car, that makes me feel a certain way for sure.
think Tom Hardy would do a good job. Long story short.
As a Roland,
Yeah, or just like a gruff guy.
he's
But yeah,
actually in a
that's
good.
too bad.
Have you ever seen Bronson
No.
with Tom Hardy? It's about a like a British street tough that was like it's a true story. That was like in and out of prison his whole life, and I think he ended up spending like more years in prison alive than outside of prison, and he was just like he could fight anybody. He was like tough as nails, and like he plays him. Tom Hardy does,
Mm.
and it's pretty intense, pretty interesting movie. But anyway, let's get back to Christine.
Yeah. We spent
We
about
fucking strayed.
0 minutes on it.
Yeah,
I mean, there's really not a whole lot to. It's a fucking car. It's haunted.
Yeah, I think there are some interesting points though to touch on, and I guess just to set the table too. So, Christine, it's a haunted car, possessed car. It's a 1958 cherry red Plymouth Fury, and our main character is Arnie. Arnie Cunningham's he's a mess. Like the most like
stereotypical
prototypical
you can imagine.
Yeah. Goofball, who means well, I guess. And he's actually got some funny lines when he is still in like nerd mode.
Yeah. I thought so. I was looking up some of these actors and the nothingness they went on to do.
Right.
And I was kind of surprised. Like, I thought they all did a pretty good job. Like, it didn't come across as super cheeseball for 83 or whatever it was.
Yeah, totally. I felt the same thing, like especially the lead, like Arnie, Keith Gordon. He went on to just be in a few things and then ended up directing, and then looks like the last 10 or 15 years he's like directed, TV episodes, like one-offs, just bouncing around cool. And playing that game.
I think I just looked up his actor filmography.
Yeah, it was pretty lean, and I was surprised. And then to his buddy, his main, the second main character, probably arguably with Alexander Paul, is the dude who plays Dennis, which is his name, John Stockwell. Yes. I recognized him immediately as Cougar from Top Gun.
I saw that in his credits, and I couldn't picture Cougar in Top Gun.
I've seen Top Gun 1 a lot, so I knew it immediately. It's the very beginning when they're on their first mission.
Is he the one who
and
gets,
he loses his shit?
Out? Oh.
Yeah, and he's all like staring at the picture of his wife and daughter, and he goes in and he turns in his wings. He's like, I haven't even seen my daughter, my family, and I almost orphaned her today. And he's like, I'm out. I'm not cut for it. And that's when like probably my favorite line from that movie, the bald dude who played Strickland from Back to the Future, when he tells Goose and Mav that they got to go to fucking Top Gun, that he's forced now by Cougar dropping out to send them to Top Gun. And then he says, if you fuck this up, I'll have you fly in a cargo plane full of rubber dog shit to Hong Kong.
That is a great line. Dude, the new Top Gun is so goddamn good.
Yeah, I streamed a cam of it, and I was like, that's pretty neat. I know in the theater it would have hit me a lot different, because the cam, even though cams have come a long way, I'm a dirtbag, but it was pretty shitty.
It made over $1 billion. I think they can afford to have one dipshit.
I mean,
watch a cam.
I don't give a baker's fuck, but I know there's a lot of people who are like, you should, respect the artist. Don't do that. Like, fuck out of here.
Yeah, but there is a spectrum, in my opinion. If it's like a small,
I don't do that to like art house indie shit. I like that shit, so I support it. Like legitimately. But yeah, like fucking all the Avengers movies, Marvel, all that shit.
I cannot wrap my brain around how popular that whole world is. But apparently, I'm in the minority, so we won't even go there. Let's add all of those movies to the don't give a shit about, will never watch ever list.
I like some of the Avenger films.
Well, one of my favorite parts about this movie that was like whoa, that's weird. And that's saying a lot in a movie about a haunted car is, I mean, growing up around dudes, you've seen your fair share of like fighting, whether it's like real fighting or play fighting or bullying or whatever.
Right.
I'm guessing by the look on your face, you already know what I'm going to say, or no?
Yeah.
I have never in a serious fight seen somebody just grab another dude's dong.
Yeah.
That's not a move. That is somebody who just wants to get a handful of that guy's junk. Like, what?
Holy cannoli.
Yeah, you think he's gonna like
they zoom
him in the face
right
or
in
trip
on that,
him,
dude.
And he just like grabs it. Like, whoa, what? Was this a thing back then? And yeah, the only thing that could have made it worse is if like he called him a queer, as he's grabbing his junk. Like, oh, you homo. It's like, what? You're the one who wrapped 5 around my Johnson. I thought that was so bizarre.
Back the fuck up, Antonio. My dick.
Oh,
He's
Kelly
got
Preston's in it.
Quite the basket. Yeah, she is. I'm
Forgot
glad
to mention that.
Yep, I made a note of that. Rest in peace. Didn't she pass away?
Yeah, I think like a year or two ago, breast cancer. Super sad.
R.I.P. Pour one out. Yeah, I made a note of that. Small little role for her. I was like, hey, I know that lady.
Yeah. I mean, she spent all those years being a beard for John Travolta, and then she gets taken too early. It's not fair. It's fucking Bill Paxton all over again. Don't even get me started.
Mm-hmm.
I saw his family just settled with the hospital too, so hopefully
Bill
that brings
Paxton's
them
family?
Yeah, because they've been involved in a long back and forth lawsuit.
Holy shit! Not to get sidetracked, but is that so that there was negligence?
Well, there was
a part of his.
That's what's claimed. So what I had always heard was whatever cardiac like infarction or whatever issue he had that ultimately took his life. From what I understand, it was like, oh, this has a 99.9% mortality or fatality rate. It's like such a devastating injury that the fact that they couldn't save him is not that unusual, right? So that's kind of just the way I thought about it. But apparently the family is saying that he had a surgery like a week or two before the complication that ended up claiming him. And
so they're saying that caused that?
They're claiming that the surgery he had, which it sounds like everyone knows it's risky, it's a highly sensitive surgery. They're claiming it's not just normal risk and danger. They're claiming that this surgeon is like reckless and he's got kind of a reputation for being shitty. And yeah, so when I first heard about it, I was like, they have no chance. They might get some just go away money because the hospital doesn't want to have to deal with this. And I think it was Cedars-Sinai in LA, which is like one of the premier hospitals.
You hear that name, you recognize it.
But the more I read about it, it was like, they might have a little bit of a case if this guy is, if he's got a little bit of a reputation for whatever. So yeah, they reached a settlement that they didn't disclose the details of, but it said they're both happy with it. So,
well, yeah, if it turns out they were in the wrong and he was taken too soon, good for the family at least on getting something.
Yeah, I mean, even
though they probably didn't need it with
it might just be
Paxton
like
was, but
emotional vindication of, well, at least we can blame this person instead of shit happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that's such a bitter pill to swallow. Not to get like morbid, but like, when you think about, sometimes I'll think about, you hear the fucking random shit where how you're just gone in a blink. And like one of the ones that scares me the most are fucking, God, what do they call them? I'm drawing a blank.
Like an aneurysm?
Yes. Brain aneurysm. Like dude's taking a shower and fucking collapses and dies. Or like there was one dude, he was in a shower. He fucking collapsed, bumped his head. He was like, oh, fuck. And he got out and dried off. And I was like, oh, I fell in the shower. And his wife's like, are you? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. And then the next day, he died in his sleep.
Yeah.
From that. Like his brain was just bleeding, but it didn't like hit him. Like that shit's fucking scary. So
Bob Saget.
I can see. Yeah, totally. I mean, I could see
John Ritter. He was just like walking down the grocery store, had like a massive something, and it's like, oh yeah, gone. Well, and even just like accidents, you could just be driving down the street and
you get T-boned and you're gone. Yeah, shit like that. So I can imagine being in that situation of Bill Paxton's family and having the opportunity, and it's like, you did this, like giving you something, even though I'm sure it's, totally bittersweet, but
so I don't know.
I can understand that.
I don't know if this was like a local story only to like Northern California, Northern Nevada, but are you familiar with the 16-year-old girl that went missing from that campground? Did you
Yep.
hear the resolution to it?
The only thing that I've seen about that is that it was like the cops, they couldn't find her for like 2 or 3 weeks, and someone
So
contacted this
yeah,
group on
so
YouTube
just
that
a little bit of background. Not to cut you off, but just if anybody's listening that hasn't heard the story, this 16-year-old girl, her name's Kylie Rodney, I think. She's at a campground next to a lake up in the Tahoe area, and just like partying, whatever. Texts her mom that she's heading home. She's been drinking, but she texts her mom that she's heading home, and then nobody sees her for 2+ weeks. Cops are looking everywhere. So that area is pretty close to a border between two counties. So they've got sheriffs from both counties. They've got, I think they logged 20,000 man hours, quote unquote, based on their whatever.
yeah,
Can't find her
damn.
anywhere. They think she's been abducted because they can't find her car. And then as the investigation is kind of stalling, then the sheriff comes out and is actually getting kind of shitty with the public. Like, there was a lot of kids at that party, and they're just not really telling us very much. They're afraid of getting in trouble, and it's just kind of
Oh,
fucked
wow.
up that they're not, and sort of blaming them.
Yeah,
So then
super
there's
professional.
yeah. So then there's these YouTube guys. I don't know too much about them, but they're divers.
hmm
And they're like, we can come check it out. And within a fucking day, they found her. And
Yep.
they found her, like, I don't know, less than a football field from where she went missing in 14 feet of water. And the cops were like, oh no, we searched that reservoir. Don't even bother. And they're like, well, we're going to take a look. Well, yep, there she is. And the cops were like, well, I mean, the water did go down 3 feet. So
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was like, didn't they dredge the fucking lake? And I also will throw them a bone because I understand, Lake Tahoe is fucking pretty massive, but
it wasn't like
even
Tahoe.
still, it wasn't.
No,
What
it
lake
was
was it?
it was a reservoir at the campsite that she
Oh
went
shit!
missing. It was like
Okay,
right there.
that's even more inexcusable. Then I was giving them. I thought it was Lake Tahoe, like she went missing. I thought they were in like South Lake or something, but yeah, that's even worse for them. Yeah, that's a bad look.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know everything. They might have done a fine and thorough investigation, but it certainly looks unusual that these
Yeah,
YouTube guys are like, we'll take a look. There she
yeah,
is.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it could have been one of those things is just blind luck, dumb luck, and
Yeah.
like, maybe they did do their due diligence, but
Sure.
some weird thing with like the tide or, the water level or something, maybe that was indicated, but yeah,
Mhm.
without
Or
digging into
maybe-
it too deep, it doesn't look great.
Yeah, or if the initial search, if they're assuming that she goes off the road into the water, she's going to be within, I don't know, 100 yards of shore or whatever. But if for
Right.
some reason, the air pocket in the car held her afloat longer and she's 400 yards from shore, like inexplicably, then, maybe that's a little more reasonable. But yeah, it was such a dominating story in my neck of the woods. And then they're like, oh, these guys are coming in. Oh, they found her. Like, Jesus, that was fast.
Yeah. Yeah, it was less so out here. I was hearing about it, but I seen like people I'm still connected with on socials were posting about it and talking about it there, and that's when I saw a couple days ago. I think the YouTubers had found her, but yeah, I mean, totally, they could have had a certain like a well-educated initial search grid, and yeah, for whatever, maybe some funky thing blew her out of whack of that, like the first area that you would plot, when you're starting a search. But
Or imagine if they brought in a specialized aquatic search and rescue person to do like sonar, and they're like, no, we didn't see anything, and the cops are like, okay, well, I'll take your word for it. So moving on to
those
the
are
next
the experts with that shit,
Yeah, and it's just some dipshit who, So yeah, don't want to impugn them too much, but it was just a crazy story with a wild, brief ending.
Yeah, that is crazy too. Like the this day and age where people are so like hyper connected and stuff, and like have the ability to like with the technology available and like networking and getting there and being able to do that, like it's pretty crazy. Because like, yeah, it might have 30 years ago that'd be way different. You know, it might be one of these, you know, hundreds or thousands of people that just go missing and they never fucking find them. You know.
Hmm.
Um,
But yeah, that part was cool where the car cut the guy in half. That was cool.
yeah. I thought I was of two minds when you were like, do you know what I'm going to talk about? First was the dude fucking grabbing the guy's schmack. And the second was I thought you may comment on how old the fucking bully looked, Buddy Repperson. I was like, this dude's 37 years old.
Yeah.
And
This guy
works
is
as
older
a
than the shop
bouncer at a
teacher.
fucking titty bar called fucking Dimples and Bruises. Or Pimples and Bruises, rather. Yeah, I was like, Jesus Christ. It was like a John Travolta clone from like the 70s, 80s on steroids. Yeah, so just to backtrack slightly. So we got two dudes. One dude's he's on the football team. He's like popular, but he's cool, and he's been friends with this nerd his whole life, it seems like, Arnie. And then Arnie gets a car, which is Christine, which turns out to be haunted, I don't think that comes into the fore until later, but yeah, like the guy, the South Bend shovel slayer from Home Alone, sells them this car, and he's weird. And then weird shit starts happening almost immediately with Arnie. It starts kind of like affecting his personality, and he's starting to change from like a nerd into like this fucking tough
Cool
greaser,
dude.
kind of. Yeah, cool. He gets a girlfriend out of the blue, but
The glasses come off.
yep. Yeah. One of my, just to backtrack real quick too, like when he's still a nerd, right out of the gate, like it reminded me the funny ass interaction is his buddy Dennis is he's like, we should get you laid. It's your senior year. You know, he's like, what about Gail Justin, huh? And
Yeah,
he's like,
just in case.
yeah. He's like, I don't like her mustache. The nerd says that. And then his buddy's all, the fuck you, Arnie. He's like, what do you care if you get a little hair in your mouth? I was like, dude,
It's like, maybe I'll just beat off. Like, this is such weird dialogue.
Yeah. And then, dude, one part that I didn't pick up on the first time, and I was interested to hear what you thought. So he says, he's like kind of sheepish. He's like a nerd. He's like, because he's like, what about this other gal? She's like a walking sperm bank. And he's like, I don't think I have the minimum deposit to open an account. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then his buddy Dennis says, are you kidding? You carry your life savings between your legs. So does that mean this dude's like hung like a horse? That's what I took. And he's just like playing coy about it.
I think it means he's super backed up because he's never like busted a nut before.
Ah, okay, I gotcha. I was like, what are they trying to say right there? And then he's like,
Well,
I think I'll just beat off.
Imagine being a dude who's going into your senior year, desperate, never been with a chick, and they're like, oh, hey, what about this cute gal? And he's like, she's a sophomore. Like, who gives a fuck? It's not like she's in 6th grade. It's like,
yeah.
Oh no, she's 2 grades below me.
Yeah. So from there, yeah, like it just kind of ratchets up. Like he gets more and more like hypnotized and possessed by this car, and then it becomes murderous at a certain point. Like they have the run in with the fucking walking meatball, Buddy Repperton, who plays like the main. He's like the main bully against Arnie that is like perfectly set up. Like, okay, this dude's gonna die at some point via the car. And so to touch on the car too, so it's a 1958 Plymouth Fury. I read up on it a little bit. I'm not a huge car guy, but I saw Stephen King wanted, like, I guess it's not, like a super popular or like famous car during the time. So he wanted to go with like kind of like more like a dark horse, more like a a little bit more obscure kind of car to be the title character. And it's funny too, I read that this was like Stephen King was on such a hot streak of like people adapting his films and like and his prolific output at that time from like the mid 70s to like the late 80s that Christine was already optioned and they began production on this film before he had even finished the book.
Oh, that's
Did you know that?
interesting. No,
Yeah.
because from
Yeah, I was
my
like,
mind,
dude,
I feel
that's
like
fucking wild.
it seems like most of the books that become movies are shit.
Well, I mean, if you like Shining,
Yeah, Shining solid. I'm trying to think.
Pet Cemetery, Salem's Lot. Did he do Silver Bullet? Was that a Stephen King adaptation? Silver
Bullet?
Bullet's in there. He
I
had quite a
I haven't
few.
seen Pet Cemetery or Salem's Lot. I've read both of them.
Oh, damn. The OG Pet Cemetery is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Salem's Lot's dope.
Did you ever watch what was it, like Hulu did a miniseries on 11/22/63?
Oh, I
What
thought you were
was
going to say
that?
something else, but yeah, the JFK book,
Yeah,
the conspiracy time travel book.
because you read that one, right?
I did not read it.
Oh,
Kelsey
I thought
read
you
it.
did. Oh, dude,
Now
it's so
Kelsey
good.
read it actually. Yeah, and she's like, "Dude, this is fucking great." And I was like, "Yeah,
It's one of my
yeah."
favorite of his. One of my favorites.
I can't wait till I get to hike school, Billy. Stay here
It's
as
good.
long as you can. Yeah, I watched some of the show, and this was when James Franco wasn't canceled. But I thought he did a pretty good job as like the protagonist, apropos of nothing, like not knowing anything about the fucking book. But I thought the show was pretty neat. I understood too. Like I went back and looked at like the premise, like the synopsis of the book, and I thought that was pretty interesting because I'm a
Didn't
big
you
JFK conspiracy guy. So
didn't you check it out from the library?
yeah, and I ended up not reading it, and Kelsey did, and she kind of like filled me in like every part of the way. So I kind of like I read like 20% of it, I guess, by osmosis, by her talking about it and giving me updates on every like eighth chapter.
Dude, it's so good. I would recommend you or anybody to read it.
Right on. Yeah, I've set a goal to like read more, so I think that would be a good avenue is to go Stephen King route for sure to get back into it. But fuck, we went off on a tangent there. Where'd we leave off? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
Oh,
the slow transition into cool guy from dork.
yes. And I liked his interactions. Like I felt, I mean, for his hammy of a premise as we're going for, I bought his interactions with like his parents and like how he escalated like goody two shoes, like doing everything his parents said, nerd, into like wanting more freedom, getting a car, and like tell him to like that one like offhand. He's like his uptight parents are like trying to talk to him, and he's like, "Okay, that's it. I'm getting the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
And you can tell it's like this is a household that no one's ever. He's never said fuck in within 1,000 feet from his parents. You know, like he plays chess and he talks about how he played Scrabble with his folks at 17 and 18 the night before. You know, like he's straight laced. You know, he's like on chess club and like the debate team and everything. You know, so that part I thought was fucking really funny. And then, so his parents are pissed he buys this fucking car, so he can't store it there. So he ends up storing it at a place called Darnell's, which is like, it seemed like a place where you could take your beater and go fucking pay like a nominal fee and like work on your car
Yeah.
because you're like struggling to like, you can't take it to a real mechanic. Look like a chop shop junkyard kind of situation. So he starts developing that connection and also becoming like a grease monkey at the same time and learning how to work on cars and fixes up Christine. It's fucking cherry. And then I thought one part I thought was really cool was the song that starts playing when he's got like finally, I think it's right before he gets it up to like full cherry, like this car is like pimp shit, everything's been restored. There's a song by a dude named Johnny Ace called Pledging My Love, and the lines are, so he's in the car and he's like hugging the steering wheel kind of, and he's like having a moment with Christine the fucking car, and the song comes on, Pledging My Love, and it says, always and forever I'll love just you, just promise me darling your love in return, may this fire may this fire in my soul dear forever burn. So I remember the first time I was like, oh, okay, here's the transition. It's like he's talking to the car, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And I thought about it this time. I was like, it seems like, he's talking to Christine. I was like, I think it's the other way around. It's the fucking car is singing to him. And it's like, this is the moment where they're like blood packed, or like the transformation like locks in, and like she already had her hooks into Arnie kind of. But this is like what sets him. Because from this point on, it's like shit gets real.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned the music.
I love the music in this whole thing.
I love that like 50s doo-wop, whatever you want to call that shit. But it's funny because this movie is bookended on either side by one of the worst songs ever created, that I could go 1,000 years and never hear fucking Bad to the Bone again, and it would be too soon. That is the worst.
Way.
That is the worst fucking song I can think of. But everything in between was awesome. I hated it at the beginning. I hated it.
Been revoked.
I hated it so much more when they finished on it. But yeah, everything in between I loved. Bad to the Bone.
Somebody is going to take that thing and stuff it right up your ass.
Dude, I can't believe
hate that
I'm
fucking
hearing this
song so
heresy
much.
from you right now. Holy fuck.
Oh my god.
Dude. Bad. Dude. That song gets me fucking pumped. I like the usage at the beat, how it's bookended like that in this film. It's like, it immediately makes me think of T2. Because that scene's so dope when he goes in, I need your boots, I need your clothes, I need your motorcycle. Like, you don't even like it in that context in T2?
It's fine. Because that scene is so great.
Yeah.
It overshadows the shitty song.
I think it fit that scene fucking perfectly. And I will give you that song feels a little out of place, maybe more than a little out of place in this film, because it does have such dope, like, doo-wop shit juxtaposed with that John Carpenter, like that fucking synth heavy, like creepy fucking 80s vibe.
Which I love.
I like those. I love those two things. But yeah, I mean, I'll agree that one of these things is not like the other. But on the subject of the soundtrack, yeah, I'm glad. That's funny. I the first thing I thought of was like, fuck this doo-wop, this Billy Joel doo-wop shit. Strictly
sir,
80s,
we
Joel.
only do 80s, Joel. Play something from The Stranger.
That's the first thing I thought of. But yeah, I love the soundtrack in that. And then that bodes well for you if we watch any more John Carpenter. That's kind of like his hallmark, is like those creepy scenes.
So he did Halloween, right?
Right.
Okay, because I definitely got the Halloween sort of similar feeling from the score or whatever.
Yeah, that's definitely his hallmark. Like, he's actually a musician too. Like, he and his son's a musician.
I saw
he does a lot of synth. Yeah,
I was surprised to see it said directed by John Carpenter and then music by John Carpenter.
Yep. Oh yeah, he releases whole albums. He released one, like, he's done like Lost Themes. He's done collections over 30 years of his filmmaking. But yeah, he's like heavily involved with all of the soundtracks that he does, and like a lot of them are iconic, and even ones that aren't so much, like the shit that he did in Christine. You can, after watching more Carpenter films, and then for me coming back to this, I watched this Christine for the first time last year. It's like you can totally tell his fingerprints are all over it, and I think he uses them perfectly, contrasted with like the era of the car. It was a '58, and like using the '50s doo-wop stuff. And then like when Christine's like on a rampage, like those scenes, like especially when it fucking when it catches on fire and he catches up to the last Buddy Repperton, did that, and it's just slowly rolling on fire, and that music, that droning synth shit, and it's like, yeah, that was awesome. I love that about this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the biggest turning point in the movie was when the bullies find out where he's keeping the car and come in and fuck it up.
Yep.
And even if you weren't into the movie before then you kind of have to sit forward like, oh, this is not going to end well for these guys.
Yeah.
They come in and bash the shit out of it. Somebody defecates on the dashboard.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I forgot that from the first viewing last year. But yeah, they do a total number on this car. And I guess before that too, so he shows up like once he's charioted out, he's made this like he's had this supernatural fucking like nuptials with this car. Then he shows up like it's his coming out party, like he comes out to the football game and everyone sees him and he's all, hey, isn't that Cunningham?
Yeah.
And the fat guy, the crotch grabber fuck, is like, I know where he keeps it. So that sets up, later on they're going to go fucking beat the shit out of his car. Because before, when Arnie was getting bullied, homeboy, 37-year-old bouncer, pulls a fucking switchblade on him. And he gets him into trouble. He's like, yeah, you had a switchblade on me. And so that dude goes away. He gets like expelled. So he's going to come back later for his just desserts. But so yeah, he goes to the football game. Everyone sees it. And then they introduce to, do you remember this gal, Alexandra Paul, who plays the character Lee? Do you remember what she's from?
No, I looked up her stuff and didn't recognize her from anything.
A little show called Baywatch. She was overshadowed by Pamela Lee and Carmel Electra, Erica Leniak, Yasmin Bleeth.
Pamela Anderson.
Sorry. Yeah, I think she was kind of overshadowed, and they didn't do any favors when they fucking chopped her hair off when they gave her that fucking short haircut. But I thought she was an absolute fucking smoke show in Christine. Thoughts, inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was funny. It'd be so funny to find out she was 13 when they filmed this movie, and you're like, yeah, I'd fuck her. But she was probably like 37, like a homeboy, cheap Roadhouse knockoff guy. Which I thought was so funny at the football game where his friend, what's his friend's name? Jason or Dennis. When Dennis gets hurt because he's like running down the field and he looks over and sees Arnie making out with the hot chick and he can't handle it. And then it's funny because they flash over to the dickhead bully guys who are on the opposing team's stands because that's where they go to school now because they were expelled. And they have to make it so clear by putting all the yellow, people behind them. Like, we are rooting for this team. Like, okay, right. Yeah, we get it. And then when this guy gets his fucking bell rung, and they're cheering like, yeah,
yeah, they make it very clear. They're like, yeah, fuck that guy. That's.
Yeah. Can you imagine other people in the stands like, take it easy, guy, Jesus.
Dude, as a former football guy, that's the one gripe I have with this fucking film is that part is so unrealistic and stupid.
I was
and
wondering.
not only that, but it's like you could have made it realistic and totally believable so easily.
What's your gripe with it?
Consult someone that ever caught a pass, because so he's running down the flat. Dennis is running, and you see him. He zeroes in. He sees Arnie, and he's got Christine. It's cherried out. He's like, "What the fuck?" And then he gets out with Lee, the smoke show Alexandra Paul, who's new to school, and he's like making out with her on the hood of the car. First of all, the timing doesn't match up when he's running his fucking route for all this. But secondly, he goes into the end zone, and then it shows him flat-footed. He comes to a complete stop and is looking at the car. And then in one quick cut, he's like, "Oh shit, yeah, I'm playing a football game. I need to jump and the ball's going to be right there." And he jumps up in the air and does like a 180, and he goes up and catches the ball. And then he comes down and he gets like flat, he gets high load by two people and like busts his knee. It's like, that's not what would happen, dude. You'd be running your route, you'd see this stuff, you'd cut, you'd look up for the ball, and you'd jump up and catch it. You wouldn't go into the end zone, sit there, look at this car, and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm in a football game," and then jump back and catch the ball. It's like, that wouldn't fucking happen. Like, anybody else will agree with me. I'm sure. It felt really plastic, and it could have been more realistic. It could have been filmed realistic.
Fuck. I wish I would have paid more attention, because literally, like, right at that moment, I had to pause it because the missus came home on her lunch, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll pick this up in a minute." And so when I pushed play again, it was kind of disjointed, like, "Oh wow, this guy just got fucked up." So I should go back and look at it, because I didn't pick up on that at all.
Watch it scene like frame by frame. Like, that seems weird, like the way that they filmed it. But that's a super minor gripe, and it's not like I'm Joe fucking football and I never played wide receiver. But just like knowing a cursory knowledge of the game, it felt kind of artificial and just took me out for a slight second. But I'll give it a huge pass because I love this fucking film. But
and I will say,
that part, I was like, that felt so cheese fucking ball, because the rest of the movie's not. I feel like the rest of the movie's dope.
It's leaving Netflix the 31st. So
yeah, I saw that too. So you got to get on it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it'll get picked up by some other thing, especially too in the run up to Halloween here. Shudder might get it on their service, but yeah. So I had a tangent question. So this made me think about, like, high school era and like first cars and like, first loves and all that kind of stuff. I was like, and I had a fun experience with my first car, but I'm curious, what was your first car in high school, and what were the circumstances around it?
So I'm born in October, which apparently means I'm either older than everybody or younger than everybody. Doesn't make any sense to me. But so I went into, you're going to love this. Went into kindergarten, and I was ready to go into first grade, and they were worried that I would be like older than everybody or something. So then I went to something they euphemistically called junior first, which was just kindergarten again. But then when I got into like first, second, and third grade, I was just so much better than everybody else, obviously, that I skipped third grade. Oh, funny story behind that. Third grade was the first time I was ever called racist. Because the teacher, this was at a Christian school.
Oh boy.
The teacher, I won't say her name, bitch. She was like, "Okay, everyone, just take a seat on the ground, cross-legged." And I was like, "Oh, do you mean Indian style?" And she's like, "You're racist."
Oh my God, what?
And
it's like, I know that's a big fucking no-no now, probably. I think it is. Like, you can't say that shit anymore. But dude, come on, dude. Growing up, I remember saying fucking sitting Indian style, and no one had a fucking problem with it.
And I think I was like 8 or 9 or something. So I was like, "Oh, I'm
sorry."
Dude,
this is way before like the woke parade and all that you got nipped by that. That's crazy.
Yeah, she was such a cunt. Anyway, so I just skipped up to the next grade. So then I was younger than everybody. So when I went into high school, I was 13.
Okay.
Just because of, I don't even know how the fuck it works based on my birthday.
So you got held back and you jumped back forward. So you were like at
so
even.
They put me in school early, held me back because they thought, he's kind of young. And then I jumped ahead because they're like, he's just gifted. And you know what? He's racist and gifted. We need to move we need to get this guy ahead. And so when I went to high school, I was 13 and I ended up graduating a semester early. So I was, I don't know, like 16 and a half. So like by the time I got out of high school, I had barely been 16. Anyway, so I started working.
Dude, that's crazy.
But the short answer is, first car was a 97 Tacoma, and I fucking love that truck. Ended up getting T-boned by a guy who ran a red light, and then he tried to sue me, which was fun.
Dude, that's eerie that I've never heard this before, and I've known you more than a decade.
I want to fucking kill this guy still, but...
I have a similar story, too. That's crazy. Sorry, keep going.
No, that's about it. And
okay.
Yeah.
So did you get screwed by that, and were you found at fault by insurance, and you didn't? So
no.
you had to like save up for another car, or how did that go down? Your next car.
My insurance denied his claim. His insurance denied my claim, and so we were both just kind of fucked. But I can't remember how it works. You have like 2 years to file a lawsuit for property damage, but 3 years for like personal injury or something. And he waited until like the very last day to try to sue me. So then my insurance guy came to me and was like, hey, this guy's suing you. Tell me what happened. So we got in the car together and I took him exactly where we were. And I was like, this fucking guy, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's in a downtown area where the lights are timed. It's not like censored. Yeah. So this guy was driving through the lights, timing them, right? And I was in the intersection turning on a yellow. And so he just blew through the light and hit me and then claimed that I ran a red light. Anyway, not super interesting, but fucked my truck up. I loved it. Had to sell it for dirt ass cheap. And
that sucks.
Yeah. You have a similar one?
Yeah, it's kind of freaky. I have a similar story, but I think I held on. How long did you hold on to the car before that happened? Your first car.
Before I sold it?
Yeah, or before that accident happened. Like, how long did you have the car?
That's a good question. Probably like 2 years, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty similar. I got a 1986 Buick Regal. At the time, my stepdad was a used car salesman. Let me have it. He honestly though, he like, people have preconceived notions about used car salesmen, like they're snake oil salesmen or something, but he really wasn't. He was a good dude. But so he picked up this car, this older car for me. It was a grandma car. Like, it only had like 28,000 miles on it. And this was in like 2001. So it's an 86 Buick Regal, little grandma car. It was super well taken care of. So he bought it, and like, he was like, give me $100 a month. And, you know, it was like an exercise and responsibility kind of thing. Yeah. So that's how I got the car. And it had a 307 engine in it, V8. So it was low power.
What was the mileage again and the year?
It was like 28,000 miles, and it was an 86, and I got it in 2001. And it was owned by a little old lady.
So she put like 1,000 miles a year on it?
Yeah, she hardly ever drove it. Dude, this thing was like cherry. Like, it was like
garage.
It was like stock cherry for 1986. It was completely stock car. Like, didn't have any fancy bells or whistles or anything. It didn't even have a water temperature gauge on it. I had to get one of those added after the fact. I blew a head gasket in it. That's a whole other story. But yeah, so I had an 86 Buick Regal, cream yellow in color, and it was an old grandma car. And it was a lot of fucking fun. It was super fun. It didn't have a lot of pickup off the line, but it had a 4-barrel carburetor. Well, dude, it's surprising it would sneak up on you because it was a V8.
Had that top end.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like I would stand on the fucking gas and nothing would happen. It was like a spaceship. And then it'd be like, woo, and then it had a 4-barrel carburetor. So it would just dump the gas in. And then, so it had a lot of good pickup on it, but off the line, it was real slow. But yeah, it was such a fun car. But yeah, I got fucking T-boned in that. Like I had it probably for 3 years. And when I came up to Chico, I got T-boned over by the college there by, kind of by the Bear and like a parking structure. But yeah, it was like a left turn. It was fucking, I had green. It wasn't even yellow. And I turned left. Like I waited for oncoming. They went, no one behind them, took a left, bam, got hit on the fucking passenger side. I had the window down on my driver's side, summertime, just cruising, one hand on the steering wheel. And when I got hit, I don't know how fast he was going, maybe 25 to 45, somewhere in there. But yeah, he fucking hit me and my head went outside the driver's side window and it came back and reverberated on the hood, like the top part of the door. So I had blood coming down my hair. There was a bunch of glass everywhere. It like pushed me out, like, to the other side of the street. And my whole, dude, if I would have had a passenger, they would have been hurting because it was like a V shape that came into my passenger side. It made a V and met up, like the apex of that V was right at the center console.
Damn.
Like barely missed me. And they ended up finding me like 51% at fault, 49% against him. This dude that hit me was like an out of town professor because we were in Chico, so Chico State, and he was like an adjunct professor from University of Arkansas that came up on like a speaking trip, and he was driving a fucking rental car, and he said I ran a red light, and that's what the cause of the accident was. Like my insurance adjuster came out, I drew a map, they did all this shit, and I had witnesses, and then they fucking never came to my defense later when it came down to the fact. They were just like no call, no showed on me. And so that was a tough, because basically I was out a car and I got nothing in return. Which was, I mean, at the time I was like, well, fuck, I'm glad I didn't have to pay anything at least. But yeah, that was bittersweet because I really loved that car a lot. But yeah, anyway, fucking side tangents. It's funny that you had kind of a similar experience getting T-boned.
That is almost exactly the same experience I had. Yeah, and it's probably like weird. 3 blocks from where I was because I was in front of Jack. I was in front of Jack's at 6th and Main.
Oh fuck! I was gonna ask, was this like Old Rockland or
no? This was 6th and Main. This dipshit fucking knocked me almost all the way to the Senator for you local folks.
What year did that happen? I'm curious because this happened to me in like 2004, 2005-ish.
This was 2008, I think. Okay. And he got out of the car like, what the fuck?
Dude, I was red hot, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was red hot. I was about to fucking kill this guy. He was like, he looked like a 45-year-old version of me now. So there's like 2 Dobermans staring at each other, Yeah. But like right across the street, like 20 feet away, there was a construction crew like remodeling a fucking house, and they saw it all happen. And that's who a couple of my witnesses were, those fucking assholes that didn't come to my defense when it mattered.
Yep.
Because I remember talking to him after. He's like, "Oh yeah, here's my business card." He was like the main contractor there. He's like, "Oh, I fucking saw all that shit, dude. That's fucked up. I'll help you out." Fuck you, man. Whoever the fuck you are. Yeah. But yeah, he was totally on my side. But they were holding me back, and like the cops got there, and they were like, "What happened?" And I remember my buddy came to pick me up, and I just pointed at him. I was like, "This motherfucker!" Like I was like I was losing my shit, man. I had like, and it probably looked crazy because I didn't feel it, you know, like when like weird,
Yep.
like crazy shit happens, and like a little bit of glass had like cut my head, so I had blood coming down my forehead, down my face, and I didn't even realize it, and I was like hostile. But anyway, yeah, this movie reminded me of that, and like that kind of time and place, like first cars,
Yeah.
and like how cool it is to have that much fucking freedom, and like being 16 and just driving. Like I remember so many times like just driving at night, like it wasn't even weed related, but just like having like, you know, stoner thoughts, and like just driving, and how cool it was to just be driving my own shit at night, like the possibilities seem endless kind of thing, like. But back to the film, I didn't really buy to how quickly like he shacked up with Alexandra Paul with Lee. It's like they insert her as like this new really classy dame at this school, and it's like, oh, okay, this is the love interest. And like as soon as Arnie starts getting cooler, he strips the glasses, he's talking back to his folks, he's fucking got this dope car, and then he's like, oh yeah, he's like, now he's with this Lee character. And then he takes her to like a drive-in movie, the car tries to fucking kill her, and then then shit starts escalating, then like Carrie starts actually killing people.
So one thing I will say that I kind of remember from the book is
Yeah, that's the other thing I meant to ask you, like if there's, as we go along, if there's any key differences that you liked or didn't like, or just to call out key differences from the book and the film.
there's not a ton that I remember, but when I was watching the movie, I remember thinking like, oh, this is kind of from the outside perspective of this guy and his kind of descent into madness.
Right.
Right. There's no real explanation of how he met up with her, how he kind of like started to bow up on his parents, how he is, you know, going down this line of insanity. It's from the perspective of like his friend and his girlfriend or whatever. I feel like in the
Right.
book, there was a lot more explanation from his point of view. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, but I remember thinking watching the movie like, I feel like they explained how, you know, this fucking dork was able to pick up on this hot chick, you know.
Yeah. I read too that more in the book they do like they make more of a concerted effort to draw out like a side plot with Dennis, his friend, and Lee, them having something going on, which fuels Arnie's jealousy a little bit more too. That's just what I read, like briefly, like in some of the differences between the book and the film, that they cut a lot of that out of the film. I guess there's more, and it makes sense. You know, you can't fit everything from a book into a film, but I thought maybe a little bit of that, if they could have inserted that into the film, would could serve it a little bit better.
Yeah, that's interesting.
my opinion.
I don't really remember that, but there was a couple points during the movie where they were getting a little snuggly with each other, and I thought that's more than just platonic friends. But
Are you fucking her?
I just nodded on myself.
He shoots, he scores.
I'll get it.
One of my favorite parts is when when Arnie, he knows, like, so after his car tries to kill Lee, understandably she's like, yeah, like she knows something's going on with the car. She's like, I think I'm cool off this guy. And Arnie's at like the chop shop, he's working on his car, and he fucking calls her. I love that part, like when he's like, so what, we're over? He's like, is that it? And he's like, you fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Boom, and slams the receiver down, and then picks it up. He's like, Lee,
Yeah.
are you there? And then he's just like, all bets are off. It's like, okay, I'm sucked into the inner sanctum of this car, and it's just me and this car from here on out. And then they start fucking killing people indiscriminately.
It's like the Happy Gilmore You know, I seen those finger paintings you bring home and they suck. I'm sorry, baby.
I wanna kiss you all over.
Or what about at the drive-in when she starts choking and he's trying to get in and the other guy comes over to give her the Heimlich and he's like, "Get your hands off my lady."
Yeah.
What?
Dude, to his credit, I thought that dude that was giving her the Heimlich he was a little too on her, like on her face. He was all, ugh, ugh. It seemed kind of like.
Well, at the end, I think he got a little exploratory with his hands, but.
Yeah, that scene was weird.
Yeah.
Super weird with like the glow and she's like choking and shit. But yeah, so I love that part. That for some reason he's like, "Well, fuck you, bitch," and he fucking slams the phone down. I was like, I love that.
Nice job trying to rehabilitate the relationship.
Yeah, it was like,
I'm
perfect.
Cool. I'm cool. Yeah, you know, everything's good. Fuck you.
Yeah. Nah, I want to hear it from your lips. Dude, I just watched side tangent that Friends episode with fucking Eddie Adam Goldberg who plays Mellish in Saving Private Ryan.
Oh yeah.
Dude, there's like 2 episodes, but there's one that I forgot about. Like I always think of the "Let me hear it from your lips" and like you know, if you think I'm leaving here with my fish, you're insane, Jack. Dude, there's one part where they're fighting and his retort, he's like, "Unbelievable!" Like,
yeah.
Dude, there's so many scenes I forget about. That one, it just caught me, dude. It gave me a rolling belly laugh. He's so good in those episodes.
That was prime Matthew Perry coke too.
Was it? Okay.
Oh yeah.
I thought he was just on opiates. He was probably on it all, but
oh no, big coke.
He seemed like a real good time, Charlie.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and then I wrote a note, especially here. I was like, okay, the usage of shitter, like,
so dumb.
I don't like it.
No.
I don't at all. And I didn't have time to fucking look it up. Or is that something that you've ever heard of, or do you know for certain that's a Steve King-ism?
No, I don't think so. I think it's meant only as a tool to show like the transition between the two characters, because you know, if the one guy said like, "Oh, that's bullshit," all the time, and then the new guy says it, it's like, well, that's kind of a common phrase. So let's say something that nobody ever says ever.
Yeah.
And then when the new guy says it, it's like, oh, yeah. It's like, yeah, we get it.
Yeah, I really don't like that usage of shitter. Was that in the book too, or is that a John Carpenter insert? To Stephen King's credit, I guess I should ask that because I haven't read the fucking book.
I don't know for sure, but it definitely seemed like his style,
like a King hallmark in that book that he had to bring over into the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't beat it to death, but I mean they use it enough where I'm like, all right, I know this is your in language,
yes,
like referring to a fucking asshole or some piece of shit. They're the shitters. Yeah. And there's a scene too where the chop shop guy's all shitter, you know, like that's one thing that kind of rubbed me wrong. Like
it seems a little shoehorned.
Yeah. But then, so yeah, I guess that leads us up to like, so the car starts killing. He kills like I got to touch on this because it was so dope. But like the bullies come back. They figure out where Arnie's keeping his car at the chop shop. Darnell's. Who do you remember that guy too? He's from what's it called? Miracle? No, not Miracle on 34th Street. What the fuck is he from? The old man.
Miracle on 34th Street. I looked him.
No,
that's
homeboy from Jurassic Park. Hammond.
He's got a ton of credits, but
he's from Miss Doubtfire at the end when he's talking with Robin Williams when he's dressed up in drag and back and forth as Miss Doubtfire, and they go to the restaurant at the very end. He's trying to pitch like that show.
I don't.
Anyway,
that.
That's who this old guy is who owns the chop shop, and so. he so the bullies come out, they beat the shit out of his car, and I have to mention this too because it's even to this day I feel like it holds up, like the practical effects that they use to capture this. But they beat the holy hell out of Christine, bust out the windows, dent up the fucking doors, they fuck it all up. And then it shows like, okay, yeah, this is how supernatural it is. It can fucking repair itself. So, and then you see all the dents pop out, and like the glass comes back together, and it reanimates itself, showing you that like the shit's like, now that it's hypnotized a new host, for lack of a better term, it had these supernatural powers are on, so it fully assembles itself after being like totaled. And the way that they filmed that was, I guess they had a bunch of stunt cars, like prop cars for this, but it was all practically shot and everything. So what they did was, in certain panels of the car and portions of the car, they had these like special hydraulic presses installed that they could trigger remotely. And so they filmed it getting beat to shit with these hydraulic presses folding in the sides of the car and the fender and like, the side of the door and everything. And then they edited it. They played it in reverse, so it looked like it was coming back together and like reforming, like like.
Yeah,
I thought that was
that's a super cool
way. Yeah, because I remembered in the past I had heard like offhand, like, oh yeah, that scene they filmed it in they beat the shit out of it and filmed it in reverse, and I was like, well, did they fucking like with computers edit out the people hitting it with a sledgehammer?
Right.
I was like, how did they do that? And I was like, oh, that's right. And then I read up on it in advance of the show, like they had shit placed within the car that they could set off remotely, and that's how they beat it to shit. They destroyed it, and then they just played it back in reverse to show it coming whole, So I thought that was really cool, especially for early 80s. You can find some really cheap, ugly, dog shit looking film techniques for shit, and I feel like that one holds up. Like I was like, oh, that's rad that they were able to do that on such a low budget, relatively speaking, for this time. But yeah, so then they go back, they track Christine, I think by herself. Yeah, it's possessed, it's got these supernatural powers, and it goes out and kills all these people without Arnie in it. So it kills all the bullies that talk shit to him and fuck up the car. And my favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes, is what we alluded to earlier with the cool music. It finds Buddy Repperton, all the bullies. It fucking runs into one completely. It blows up a gas station. It's on fire. Buddy Repperton starts running away down the street. And then it's got like the I think the most iconic shot of the film probably is Christine on fire, blacked out windows, cruising down this country road like 10 miles an hour, just stalking this dude running, and then it fucking runs him over. And that, I think that scene was practically shot too, like really well, like a stunt guy probably wrapped up in shit, Kevlar and crap, and like set on fire, and it just slowly rolls him over. And the music, that scene, I feel like it was done really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, then at that point, then it's like there is. I should mention the cop that seems like he's kind of on Arnie's trail is played by Harry Dean Stanton, which is known to a lot of people. He's a good character actor. I liked him a lot in Repo Man with Emilio Estevez. He's kind of on to Arnie. From what I've seen in the book, he plays a little bit of a larger role, and I think he's actually killed by the car.
Oh shit! I don't remember that.
And
But I do remember him having kind of a bigger role, kind of sniffing around, because it is super weird.
I would have liked a little bit more of that in the film too. I know this film, I think it's in like an hour and 50 minutes, somewhere around there. So maybe they had to. I mean, you got to cut some things. You got to make some tough decisions, I'm sure, when you're trying to condense a fucking novel into a film like that. But I feel like he could have used a little bit more maybe in the film. But so yeah, he doesn't die. And so Arnie's got a little bit of heat on him there. And then it kind of culminates in like his buddy Dennis knows there's something up, because there's a previous scene too where he tries to go in and see what's going on with this car, and he tries to open it, and then a 50s song plays like, you can keep knocking but you're not coming in, and it fucking spooks him and he leaves. And then what happens to Lee, like she says it fucking did something, this blinding light choked her or whatever. So he's like fully on board that, like, and he can see too, Arnie, his attitude, his demeanor, he's like turning into this like greaser from the 50s. And I saw too in the trivia, like they even made a concerted effort to show the transformation by like, he starts dressing in like, because this film takes place in like 1978, but he buys his car, Christine's from 58. He starts dressing in styles that were part of that era. Like the little leather vest he starts wearing, he starts slicking his hair back, and so his buddy Dennis knows there's something going on with this fucking car, and he also knows too the backstory that I won't get into here, so we don't draw this out more than we already have. But there's some weird shit about the car, like it fucking killed some people and drove the previous owner insane, you know. So his buddy Dennis and Lee are both like, we need to just destroy this car is what we need to do. It's the common denominator, and the culmination is kind of cheesy. They like go back to the wrecking yard and they fucking destroy Christine. Arnie gets ejected and fucking stabbed through the chest or the belly with glass and just dies kind of unceremoniously.
Yeah.
And then they crush the car, and then it gets fucking squashed into a cube at the very end the next day, and then they hear like music playing out of the car. And they're like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
Roll credits, you know, like.
Well, no, you're missing one thing.
What happens?
Well, they look over at the cube, and they hear the doo-wop 50s whatever music.
Oh, right.
And they freak out, but then they see like a dude who's walking by with the stereo.
Oh,
And it's
that's
like,
right.
oh no, the music is coming from him, not the car. So the car is dead. But as it's panning out or whatever, you see the car like move a little bit.
Yeah, it makes a little twinge, and then it cuts. So
Yeah.
I did like that. The very, very end, I like that little wink to the audience. But everything before that, like from the time they decide we're going to use a fucking backhoe to squash this thing and kill it, the car, and how quickly Arnie just kind of dies. That part I felt like could have been massaged and done a little bit differently.
From like a piece of glass to his tum-tum.
Yeah.
That did seem kind of dumb.
Yeah. I thought for how integral he was to the story, I feel like all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's Dennis's story. All of a sudden. Like, no, he's the guy. I don't know. That's just what I thought. I feel like Arnie should have had a better send-off.
Yeah.
They could. I don't know what that fucking is. I'm not a genius, but I feel like something could have been better than that. But I won't rip it too much, because as a whole, like I liked the whole package. You know, like it's just got a really cool vibe to it. I don't know how to
it's fun.
describe it.
It's a fucking fun movie. If you don't like it, you're dumb.
Yeah. Oh shit! To backtrack a little bit, one of my favorite fucking parts. Can you guess what it is? I'll give you a hint. It's probably about halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way through Arnie's transition into fucking sullen, sunken, black under his eyeballs greaser.
I can't.
It's
I
a
can't
familial
think of
scene.
Oh, when he beats the shit out of his dad. He calls his dad a cocksucker.
Dude.
Or when his dad tries to bow up on him and he's like, "You're a bitch."
Dude, I love that scene. I loved it so much. It's probably like, you know, fucking fantasy fulfillment of like previous stepdads. Like, I wish I could have done that, you know?
Yeah.
But just the way that the dad, like he bows up against the dad, and then the dad like the way they filmed it, I feel like that was awesome. Like the way that I feel like those two actors in that moment really went for it, because the dad grabs Arnie by the fucking shirt and slams him against the wall. Like I was like, oh yes, dude, it looks very realistic. And then Arnie comes back, fucking hand to the throat, and the way the dad played it, like he's afraid of his son. Like you totally buy it. Like he's afraid of this motherfucker, and like the way he was like, ugh. And then Arnie just goes up the stairs and is like, good night, like sweet dreams or something like that. I was like, oh dude,
I'm gonna
he's
hit the
fully
sack.
transitioned. Yeah, that's what he says. Like, I'm gonna hit the sack. Yeah, like, dude, I love that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes too in this film. Like,
It's like the transition is complete at that point.
yes, like there's like a line in the sand. It's like, okay, the parents are now afraid, and they're not in the equation.
The fucking
anymore.
mom was crying at the table before then.
Yeah. God, what does he say before that? He's like, fuck you, or he says something. He's pretty tough about it. And then the fucking dad's like, well, I'm not gonna stand for this, like and he fucking bows up hard, but immediately gets checked back by Arnie. Like that, just like boom boom. Like I love that fucking scene. That's one of my favorites. But yeah, shit like that. Like I've seen a lot of stuff from like the late 70s to the early 90s that doesn't have this kind of like vibe and like depth to it. So, and it's fresh eyes on it. I just watched this last year for the first time, and over the years I've become more and more of a John Carpenter fan too, outside of Halloween and all that, because I was a latecomer to a lot of his movies, including all of his seminal films like Halloween, which a lot of people look back on him, and rightfully so. It's a great film, but I don't think like I feel the same way about like Exorcist, like the first Exorcist and Exorcist 3. Like when it came out in the 70s, I'm sure the fucking Exorcist 1 was super creepy and scary. I watched Exorcist 1 way later in life, and I was like, yeah, it was good, but it like didn't freak me the fuck out.
Yeah,
Exorcist 3
I had the same
though,
experience.
Dude, Exorcist 3 with George C. Scott and Brad Dourif, dude, that movie creeps me out way more. Like that.
Oh yeah, I've never seen it.
Oh yeah, what, dude? Exorcist 3 is awesome, and if you're a George C. Scott fan, he's awesome in it. He's fucking great. And
Put
it's
it on the
to me,
Halloween list.
dude, that's a good call actually, because to me, it's infinitely. I know this is gonna be a really hot take right here, but I think Exorcist 3 is infinitely more scary and creepy and gets under your skin more than the first one does. But
the first one was not scary at all.
Well, it has that reputation. Like, people passed out in theaters. It came out in like, what, 1973?
That's marketing.
Like, when that came out, though, too, like, nothing else like that had come out. So, we've been exposed to a lot more. Everything's exponential, and like now, like, more graphic, more gory, more. So, but anyway, that was kind of a tangent, but yeah, that is a good call actually. That's one I forget about, but then when I think about it, and I'll rewatch it, and I remember how good and like affecting it is. What's your George C. Scott? Do you remember him from Angus? Do you remember the movie Angus?
I always confuse Angus with Heavyweights. Same guy, right?
No. Kind of similar though, because Angus is like a fat kid who's like on the outskirts of popularity and like the school social culture, and it shows him like develop more confidence and go for the girl and like blah blah blah. But George C. Scott is his grandpa, and he's just raised by his grandpa, and he's super good in it. Like I feel like it's one of the better actually, like mid late 90s like coming of age tales, because it feels really realistic.
I don't
like
think
it's not
I've seen it,
Hollywooded out.
but I do feel that there is a Heavyweights connection, and I base that on nothing.
I think it's just that the main protagonist of Angus is overweight. I mean, I'm pulling at straws here. That's the only thing I can cross-reference in my brain right now. But anyway, all right. So that's been Christine. So you liked it? This was a rousing success.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. I'm glad that's a good kickoff. That gives me confidence for the rest of my picks here. And two, I mean, we can be flexible too. If there's something like, is there anything like Halloween for the Halloween season you've wanted to watch, and like this might be a good medium to cash in that chip?
No, I'm not a big Halloween guy.
Okay,
but I'm
That's,
open
well,
to.
We'll get you there.
Whatever.
Okay. And I won't make you watch It Follows, so just cool your fucking jets.
God, not again.
I was kind of crushed when you said I didn't like that. I thought, I was hoping that was something that that you would like. Damn you, Scuba Steve.
Chase, what the fuck were you thinking about here?
I don't have anything. I guess we touched on it earlier. I can't remember what the fuck it was for Colloquial Corner. Maybe talking about shitter, how stupid it is. If anybody's ever heard that or knows that to exist outside the Stephen King universe, fucking send us an email, waxingtheporpoise.com. Let us know what you think, or if you agree that it's dumb. But one thing that I've been, or before I do, is there anything else about Christine you want to talk about before we move on?
No, not at all.
Solid recommend if you've never seen it to this point. I think it's a fine horror film. It's not specifically Halloween, although portions of it do take place in October. I think it's, if you haven't seen it and you're a fan of John Carpenter, definitely fucking check it out. And if you're not, definitely check it out because it's dope. It's not dumb like I thought it was. Like I thought stupid car kills people.
Yeah.
Dumb. And then I watched it and I was like, this is pretty dope. Yeah. Have you ever seen this little movie called Christine? So one thing I've noticed lately and is I've been seeing a lot more Denzel Washington like clips of him talking, like outside of films, like being interviewed and talked to. And I'm like, dude, this motherfucker, I feel like if civilization collapses and then in like 100 years, 1,000 years, they're able to come back and find our media or like see what the world was like, I feel like he would be like a messiah figure, or he would be the best representation of humans. Like, this is the guy. He should be president. Like, he should be like a thought leader because of some of the shit he says. And like the way he looks when he's talking, he's just pearls of wisdom every time he opens his fucking mouth. It's insane. Have you noticed that or picked up on that?
Not at all.
Really? Dude, okay, check this out. Check this out. All right. So we're gonna do a screen share here. Look at the key in on the way, like his facial features too, and his mannerisms when he's talking about shit. Watch his like eyes. He's very expressive.
Can you make that bigger?
Yes. Ah, it's like Denzel is like
too big.
Right with us. He's here. It's him. It's Himothy.
Dreams without goals are just dreams.
Come on.
And ultimately, they fuel disappointment.
Exactly.
On the road to achieving your dreams, you must apply discipline, but more importantly, consistency. Because without commitment, you'll never start. But without consistency, you'll never finish. Dreams without goals.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't hear anything because my eardrums are blown out by how fucking loud that was.
Sorry. Sorry. I'll have to fix that in post.
Please don't play it again.
Dude, okay, another one. Where is it? This one. He's talking about fake news. Dude.
Okay.
There's been a lot of buzz about this fake news. You were the subject of a fake news story.
Oh yeah, what they say? I was running for president. No, I voted. No, what they say?
You switched your support.
I switched.
from
Yeah.
What do you make of all the fake news that it affects
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed.
So what do you do?
That's a great question. What is the long-term effect of too much information? One of the effects is the need to be first, not even to be true anymore. So what a responsibility you all have to tell the truth, not just to be first, but to tell the truth. We live in a society now where it's just first. Who cares? Get it out there. We don't care who it hurts. We don't care who we destroy. We don't care if it's true. Just say it, sell it. Anything you practice, you'll get good at, including BS.
You told me last time.
Okay. But you heard.
Right?
Dude, I've never agreed with anybody more ever than that. I mean, that's so true. Like, the modern media is, don't get it right, but get it first.
Say it. Sell it.
He's exactly right. It doesn't matter if you're right, but you got to be first.
He's such like a good speaker. Like I was like, is this from a film? Like he's so like expressive with the eyes and like
disagree with him. Nobody's going to be like, no,
you
wrong.
can't. You can't. He's at this level where he's like, that's what I'm saying. Like if shit goes to hell and people come back and like can sift through the ashes of our civilization, it's like, it's him. Isn't that nuts?
I mean, you know how much I love The Equalizer, so you're preaching to the choir, brother.
This one's awesome too. This is a quick hitter.
There's a saying, when the devil ignores you, then you know you're doing something wrong. Wait, no, I'm not done now. You know, the devil goes, oh no, leave him alone. He's my favorite. Right. Rather him. Yeah. Conversely, when the devil comes at you, maybe it's because you're trying to do something right.
Just the way he talks, it's like, it's insane.
I'm sorry, I'm deaf now because that was loud as fuck.
Sorry. It's so hard to gauge this shit.
Huh?
All right, one more.
Thomas, so every time
you
get your fucking hand.
That's right.
Say it with me.
No. I'll grab your hand and you play me.
Yeah.
Hey.
You get your fucking hands off me.
Oh, shit. Oh, that was funny.
Dude, Jamie Foxx is fucking, he's got some impersonations down. Have you ever seen him do?
I thought you had one about like the craft table, like eating food, or what am I thinking of?
Of Jamie Foxx?
No, Denzel, where he's like, I'm gonna get it.
Oh, yeah. The fucking, where is it? This one? Oh, yeah. This.
Can you turn it up to 1,000?
1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Here we go.
So now we're leaving. I'm leaving without the Oscar, right? But as I'm leaving, I see the back of where they're doing they're getting the meal ready, the food ready for the governor's ball.
Yeah.
I see a big tray. I'm like, I'm leaving here with something. I mean, I'm from the way. I'm leaving with something.
But yeah, in like other clips, he fucking keeps it real. That's the thing I love about him. He like drops these fucking pearls of wisdom, but he also seems like one of these fucking, like he's one of the boys, you know? Like, I don't know, man. It's just.
Oh, shit. All right. That's, yeah. Whew.
Anyway, I guess that was my ode to fucking Denzel. There. I've just been seeing more and more like some of the shit he says. I'm just like, dude, this guy has it figured the fuck out completely.
Well, imagine being that famous for that long. to the point where you can just say whatever the fuck you want. Finally.
Yeah, like he can be really real and not have any pretension about anything, you know? Like,
Well, yeah, what are you going to do? You're going to try to cancel Denzel? Like, he can say
Yeah.
whatever the fuck he wants.
yeah. Yep. So,
All right.
cool. Yeah, I'm glad I included that into this because, yeah. Denzel's the man. Denzel 2024 or Danny Gloves 2024 also.
I'd vote for both.
Alrighty.
Another fun one.
Indeed. So that'll do it for us. If you got any comments about Christine or want to drop us a sneaky Halloween deep cut, something for a first timer that might be cool, let us know at our email is wax@waxingtheporpoise.com, or you can reach out to us at on Instagram at waxingtheporpoise or Twitter at waxingtheporp. Shout out again also to Ghoulish University. Thanks for having me on. I had a great time. Check out their cast, especially if you love Tales from the Crypt, as I do. It's been fun. It's been a good reason to get back into the series, especially going into Halloween season. Checking out all their episodes. They got some really good ones too. Like I think outside of this, I'll shoot you a couple good recommends. There's this dude on YouTube actually. There's a couple outlets they've put. It's super hard to find on DVD, but without paying a fucking arm and a leg. But there's a couple dudes that have all of them on YouTube for free, every episode from all 6 or 7 seasons that they did. There's one with Bill Paxton that's fucking excellent, called People in Brass Hearses. So I'll shoot you that one for sure. I'll try to pick out a couple others that I think would be up your alley. But so looking forward to next week. I really want to do, I think we should do the Mothman Prophecies, which as of last week, I think it's rental only. There's multiple options via YouTube, Vudu, Apple TV, a couple others. I'm surprised it's not somewhere on streaming right now, but it's not a straight Halloween tale, but it's definitely creepy. It involves like cryptid, possibly alien, just some weird shit. And I think it's fun too because it's loosely based on a series of quote unquote true accounts in West Virginia about the Mothman, and whose sightings have since spread elsewhere from West Virginia. But there's this particular incident that they touch on in the film as well that mirrors a real life story that's pretty weird. So if anybody hasn't seen that, I highly recommend it, and we'll be talking about that next episode. From there, I've been thinking on it, and I talked with my wife about a couple. I might switch it up a little bit on a couple, but we'll talk about that off air. But yeah, the rest of this month, September, when we release this in October, we're doing all horror. So thanks for joining us for Christine. Had a lot of fun with this one. Definitely check Christine out if you haven't. I feel like it fits nicely into that pre-Halloween kind of category, or anytime really. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Do you have any moves? I'd like to see you incorporate them.
All right.
That was so fucking loud.
OGs do stuff back in the day. Dre is a BG. That means a baby gangster.